we've run 10 courses on managing influence in editorial boards. So we've touched about 150 people, being involved here, and they've had, they're involved in a lot more editorial boards than one. So you're looking at least 250 editorial boards. And what are some of the consistent themes that they've identified that challenge them when they work with editorial boards?
I mean, one thing that springs to mind immediately is that you'll tend to spend your time working on the board that's the most responsive, and then they might not necessarily be the board that need the most help.
Yes.
So there's just a natural human tendency, isn't there? The ones that are kind of shouting loudest will probably get the most attention. So if you're juggling a number of editorial boards, you probably need to think about, how am I going to manage my time, and actually what are the things that I can do that are going to have the most impact. And probably accepting that not all your boards are going to be working, as efficiently and as brilliantly as you'd like them to, but think of one or two key things that you want to improve and work on those first.
Yes.
And then the rest can come. You can't fix everything all at once.
Now, I think, because it becomes almost overwhelming as well, if you've got 5 or 6 and one is working brilliantly, you're right, you'll spend the time where you enjoy yourself, and it tends to work brilliantly because it's an enjoyable place as well. And the others are like, oh, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? But it's about what little bits can I take from the ones that are really working as well and apply them to the ones that are not working so well. And it's quite interesting because some of the things that we've found consistently that come up for boards that don't work is, as we've alluded to already, lack of engagement. People are not involved, so other people turn off. But also I think what's been interesting is, we've run a survey every time we do one of these courses, and we've got about 100 editorial boards data here, and consistently there's lack of understanding of who's doing what. And so roles and responsibilities are sometimes a bit muddled because people think that somebody else is doing it, and so they don't do it, and there's a vice versa. So that's a big challenge, isn't it, that we've come across? That
Absolutely.
Ambiguity.
And also the purpose of the journal and the editorial board that they're on. What is the purpose for that journal, and is everybody clear on that? Because
yes,
I think you can tell it to the boards, perhaps when new people join, but it needs reiterating almost every time you meet, so it's clear and front and center in people's minds.
Yes, no, indeed, yeah. I think what we found is that most of them have visions or purposes, but when they try and reiterate it across the board, a lot of people know they have one, but they don't really know what it is, and more importantly, they don't know how they fit into that and what their role is contributing to delivering that. I think what we found as well is once people start to see the link between what they do and how that helps deliver what the editorial board is trying to achieve, their engagement increases because they can see a direct input what they're doing with the whole bigger perspective of the editorial board.
Yeah. And they'll immediately understand why they're there, and hopefully come with more ideas and willing to actively take part.
Yes, no, definitely. I think because the other area is about responsiveness, and actually how long it takes for people to feedback on the meeting, to actually do what's allocated to them, and then feed back into the bigger perspective, into the bigger board. And making sure that the timelines are adhered to, because if I'm late delivering something, this has a knock-on effect. I don't think people fully understand that, do they?
No, it's that sort of collective responsibility, isn't it? The commitments that you make to your fellow board members about when you're going to achieve, do these things, and how that's going to help the journal move forward. I think it's those, that sort of sense of team and collective responsibility, I think, is often lacking, I would say.
Yeah.
I think the one thing I found that board members really appreciate is, getting the update on what we decided last time, what's happened since, what have we done with that?
Yeah.
Have people done the actions they were given? And actually seeing that measurable progress, I think that helps keep people motivated and
But
engaged.
I mean, I must admit, what's been really positive is how well meetings are documented, and then they're sent out in a timely manner. That seems to be something which happens on a regular basis, and how timely agendas and sent out to people so they know what to prepare for. Now, whether they prepare or not is another question, but actually most of editorial boards send out stuff in a timely manner so people know what's happening, where it's happening, and what we're going to talk about. Yeah, I think, I think for me, they are. And, I'm looking at one thing here, one of the questions we ask is, does your editorial board have a clear and compelling purpose? And over, 60-70% of the respondents have said yes, they do. Not everybody always understands it, but actually when they look at it, it is clear and it is compelling, which I think is great, actually, because if it's not clear and it's not compelling, people are going to totally, go back to their emails and just attend because they presenteeism rather than actually contribution.
Yeah. Because they don't understand where the journal wants to be or where the publisher wants the journal to be, and yeah, exactly what's expected of them, really.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think there's a lot of that work that can be done early on when board members are new to the editorial board and you appoint somebody. These things can be covered in editorial board contracts or agreements about what is required of board members, the terms of reference, for example, for a board.
And I know one of the things you love is governance and the importance of governance. Tell me about why governance is so important.
Well, governance is your friend. It's gonna help you out of a number of sticky situations. I think it just provides that clarity and that structure, and it enables you to have conversations with people about what you would like them to do, and why they're there, and what's going to be expected of them, and potentially what happens if they don't live up to those expectations. And so, if you don't have these this structure in place, this governance in place to begin with, then it makes those conversations just so much harder to have.
Yeah.
But if that's
governance is your friend, isn't that right? Yeah, governance is very much your friend if you've got good governance in place.
Absolutely, it underpins, I guess, running any board, any committee.
Yeah.
It really helps provide everybody with the boundaries.
If somebody was joining an editorial board, what would be the 3 things that you would suggest they need to focus on to make sure the editorial board works to its optimum?
So first and foremost, I would say you need to get to know your chair. If you're managing an editorial board, you need to get to know your chair. You need to build up a rapport with them. You need to have a very, a solid shared understanding about where you want to go with the journal and how you want the board to be governed and how you want the board to act, because the chair is going to be, I guess, the conduit of how that gets shared with the editorial board. So definitely, build up that understanding with the chair.
Yeah, taking that time to build that relationship with the chair, isn't it? Yeah, arranging, if you're in you're not co-located, then arranging to have meetings where you can talk about things, just build and understand from their perspective what they're trying to achieve and help them understand what you're trying to achieve as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think setting those expectations with the editorial board members, as we've said, having that front and centre along with the purpose and the vision for the journal.
Yeah, and I think it's about getting them involved as well with the expectations. It's rather than saying, these are what we expect. It's like, okay, this is what I expect from you. What do you expect from me? And having that conversation so they create that almost how they, the rules about the rules of engagement, how we play together within the editorial board.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think don't underestimate the value of getting to know the sort of motivations and values of your board. Actually spend a little bit of time getting to know them. What are their drivers? What's keeping them involved? And that building up that sort of mutual trust and understanding will then lead to a board that is far more comfortable working together. And therefore, you know, when people are comfortable, they're more willing to sort of share ideas, you know, be creative, take action.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely finding out what's important to them and help, you know, because they've obviously joined the board for a reason as well. So helping them fulfill some of their needs in that way is going to help them become more engaged, want to turn up and want to actually be part and contribute. Yeah, so definitely. So the three things are, you know, the chair, spending time with your chair. The second one is about getting everybody's expectations and understanding it and agreeing that as well. You know, it's not a, this is my expectations, what are yours, right, we're doing. It's about making sure we have that conversation. So I think it's the conversation which is important. And then finally understanding, you know, why people are there, what's important to them, and helping them and you both deliver on what's important. So it is a, you know, you'll find that the more you enjoy going to Editorial Boards and being part of it, the more you'll contribute, the more you'll want to contribute, and the more successful it'll be.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, there's so many different ways you can do that. It doesn't have to be in person. It can be virtual. And I think people have got much better at sort of virtual meetings. It's definitely possible.